Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's book study call with Brian Proctor. My name is Tommy Collier, and I am so honored to be your MC today. Brian is going to grab the mic in just a minute, but before he does, I have a question for you. Yes, you, and you, and you, and you, and you. And it's not a rhetorical question, okay? If you could type your answer into the chat, that would be great. And that will literally get the energy flowing here in the room and in the universe. But even if you don't type it in, at least answer for yourself quietly inside your own mind. Now, here's my question for you. Why are you here with us today? What is it you're hoping to receive from listening to Brian Proctor? Do you have a particular circumstance you're looking to escape or move beyond? Do you have a goal so big, so exhilarating that it scares and excites you at the same time? In fact, it's so big you have no earthly idea how you're going to pull it off. And maybe this will be the call that sheds some light for you. Are you feeling a bit overwhelmed and you're looking for these 90 minutes today to be a brief but much needed break from the noise and chaos of your world? Really hear the answers that have come to you inside your marvelous mind. And from those answers, I'd like to invite you to set an intention. What's one question that you have that you want to have answered by the time you're done today? Write it down and remember it. You're putting the inquiry into the universe and simultaneously activating the vibration that has the answer and the solution. I'll bet just one sentence that Brian shares today will help you find your answer. All right. Now, if you've ever been to a book study call in the past, this is likely not going to be like any other that you've been a part of. I see many of our beloved Proctor's Principles members in the room. Hello, friends. And you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Brian's going to read a few passages from his book, My Father Knew the Secret, growing up with Bob Proctor. But more than that, he's going to share stories and lessons related to the how, why, and who of the chapters. Bob Proctor is a very special force in this world, and Brian Proctor is a very powerful force in this world as well. As he speaks, I invite you to let his love, his heart, and his passion flow to and through you. You get to hear firsthand from the man who, as he puts it, is living a charmed life because Bob Proctor was and is his father. They got to enjoy 60 years of love and connection together, and 30 of those years they were together in the personal development industry, not only watching transformation take place, but helping be the cause of the transformation. Bob and Brian are gifted at teaching us how this wacky world we live in works. One of the things they help us see clearly is the law of cause and effect. You are the center of your own universe. You can be the star in your own movie. You can be the cause in the matter of your life from this point forward. As we say inside our Proctor's Principles community, you can have virtually anything in this life that you want. You just have to do the work. Bob Proctor was very clear that thoughts become things. What you can see in your mind with clarity, and when you persist in seeing your vision with emotion, you can hold that very vision in your hand. When you decide what you want and own your power as the driving force that will make it happen, your inner power teams up with the universe to bring about what you desire. Everything you want is already here. You just have to move in harmony with it. Attractive forces come to work in your favor. So, speaking of attractive forces, remember this as Brian speaks with you today. I encourage you to have your pen and paper ready, okay? And your tissue box too, because it's not uncommon that tears may flow. It is with great pleasure now that I welcome to the spotlight a very special man, my friend, Mr. Brian Proctor. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Tommy.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for that, Tommy. That is so kind. Um,
My
I,
pleasure.
I want to welcome all of you here, and I want to say thank you for being here. This is a treat for me. This is something that we just decided to do because of so many comments and so many things that kept coming to us around the book. So we thought, why not just do a 90 minutes and we'll just talk about the book. And that's why we're here. So I just want to first start off by thanking every one of you for being here. Your support is incredible, and your feedback has been, boy, it's touched my heart in the deepest of ways. It really has. I I'm going to share some things from this book. I've got all kinds of little note spots. how far I'm going to get in here, I have not a clue. This is not scripted. I really want to share some of the stories around the book, why it came to be, all of these things. So I'll share as much as I can with you in the time that we have. I would also ask, we're going to do our best to keep this to an hour of me just sharing. And maybe the last half hour, just we're going to open it up for questions. So if you have questions around this book or anything about that, feel free to, I think, Tommy, is there a place in here that they can submit a question?
Yep, there should be a Q&A button right in your toolbar at the bottom of Zoom. You might have to click on the More button if you're on a mobile device.
Perfect. So if you have a question, something that comes to you, please put it in there. Tommy will try to field as much as we can, and hopefully we get some of your questions answered as well. And that's it. That's what we're going to do today. So we're going to keep it really simple, really clean. Um, this book, for those of you that don't know, I started writing this book at least 3 years before my father passed away. A lot of people think I wrote this after he was gone, and that's actually not the case. I finished it after he was gone, but I started writing it at least 3 years before he left us, maybe a little bit longer. And it all started really as a conversation between myself and my wife, Corey, who is here. I can't see her right now, but I know she's here, and we may get her on here at some point today. But it started off as a conversation. My father always said in seminars from the stage, he always says, everybody's got a book in them. Everybody's got a book in them. We all have knowledge that we can share. And I said to her, I said, I've been getting this urge to write, start writing something. And Dad always says there's a book in us. And I said to her, I said, what should I write it on? And Corey kind of looked at me almost like I had two heads. And she says, Brian, all these seminars where, I worked with my father for well over 30 years. So I've been to literally thousands of events. And at every seminar, the number one question that I got is, what's it like having Bob Proctor as a father? And and she said, why don't you start writing about that? What's it like having Bob Proctor as a father? And I thought, man, that's perfect. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So I started, and I started writing. And as I was writing, it was, God, it was a great experience because I was reliving childhood memories, memories as a teenager, memories of when I got into real estate and I started selling real estate in Toronto. And then I left that and started working with my father again. For those of you that don't know, I was kind of a roadie for Dad when I was a late teenager, slugging around a blackboard. This is long before the internet was a thing, and he presented on a blackboard. If you ever saw any of his Born Rich program, you'll see the blackboard on stage. And then I left and got into real estate. And then eventually I started working with him again. And it was a great experience. It was a great experience. I will tell you this, having Bob Proctor as a father was a gift. I was a very, very lucky man. I realize not everybody is fortunate with their parents, but I was. And when I started writing this, I started to share with Dad that I was writing this book. And he kind of looked at me and he says, well, why are you doing that? And I said, to share my experiences, to share what it was like growing up with you. I said, I know that this message will be well received. And I think he kind of liked that. And we started having some really good conversations around it. Dad and I talked all the time. We would talk literally every day, multiple times a day. Well, it altered some of our conversations, which was a lot of fun. And I started asking him questions about certain stories in our life and some things that were going on, and we would share, and I would start writing these things down, and I started sending him some of the chapters that I had written. And it was really gratifying because he really enjoyed what he was reading. He really liked the message. Little did I know that this book would be finished after he was gone. It was that was a tough part. I thought I was going to be done this book, and he would get to see it and witness it. Although I know he's seeing it from wherever he is. Um, and I will say the probably one of the most impactful parts of this book is because he was gone. Um, I it probably took me maybe not quite a year after he was gone to get it finished. And the first chapter in the book, if you have that, if you have the book with you, the first chapter was all around his final days. And I see you, Gary. Yep, I see you've got it. The first chapter was about his final days, and this book, I think, became bigger because of his passing. I was able to share probably some deeper stories, things that I couldn't have shared if he was still around, and it I think it turned into almost a love letter to my father. It's the best way I can describe it. I got to share everything I learned from him and how I used it. And I'll dig into that in a minute. But one of the things that came to me when I was after he was gone, when I was writing it, my wife Corey was, gosh, she was probably the best part of this book for me. I often say, I don't know if I said it in the book or not, but um, it was like I built the house and Corey decorated it. Corey was my editor, and she took my words and she made them smoother. She took out the rough edges and she really, really brought it to life, which was wonderful. Well, one day I was down in, we have a hot tub here, and that's my place that I go, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but it's the place I go that I speak to my father still. I close my eyes, I get really relaxed, and I just speak to him, and I listen for the answer. Well, one of those days I came up and I'm sitting in the chair across from Corey's desk, and she said, "Did you talk to your dad?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "What did he say?" And it was this profound message around the book and everything else that I've been doing. And it was simply this. It was stay authentic, speak from my heart, not my head. Share what I know, share what I learned, and share how I used it. And that has been my guiding principle ever since. Hearing that message struck me in such a way. Many of you, this may be your first time hearing from me. You're not going to hear Bob Proctor in me. I am not going to imitate my father. Um, that would be a crime. That would be being inauthentic. What you are going to get from me is Brian Proctor. You're going to get me speaking from the heart, not my head. Um, and I wrote down, many of you gave her your feedback as to what you needed to hear today. And I've got it all here. I wrote everybody's thing down, everybody's trouble, what they're struggling with. Hopefully, I'm going to touch on all of them for you to hear today. But one of them is really around the beginning of this book. So I'm going to start digging into this a little bit and share this with you. First off, I'm not going to read a lot from the book. I'm going to kind of go through chapters. As you can see, I got lots of little tidbits here. God knows how far I'll get. Um, but I want to do read the dedication to this book because this just has meaning to me. So this book is dedicated to my father, Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor was an extraordinary father, friend, and business partner. The stars aligned for me on the day I came into this world as his son. My father's passion and dedication to sharing the information that changed his life shaped my life and changed the lives of countless others worldwide is timeless and benefits any person that invests the time into studying it. Bob Proctor was one of the great thinkers of our time. I love you, Dad, and I miss you dearly. This was an easy dedication to write. Obviously, the book is kind of all about him. The book is also a lot about me, but it's all about the things I learned growing up with him and the privilege really that I had working with him. It was such a joy. In the beginning of this book, when I started writing, I can show you. I did have it here. I think Corey was tidying up a little bit of my desk. I had a folder, and it's got all kinds of notes, triggers for writing, because I am in the midst of writing another book right now. So in this folder is all kinds of nuggets of things I learned at the seminars. And when I started writing this, I was pulling back from all of my past notes and I started looking over things. And my notes are really interesting combination of what Dad spoke from the stage and what I was thinking in my head as I was listening to them. And that's what my notes are all about. So it's a really kind of a cool blend. So I wrote in the book, in the very beginning, in the introduction, I said this, and I want you to think about this. Really think about this right now, because this will touch a lot of you and what you're going through. If all your past experiences make you who you are today, then who would you be if you forgot your past and started in a new place? I have so many people that reach out. How do I start over again? How do I become this person that I really want to be? That's part of how you do it. What if the only thing you knew was that you could be, do, or have anything you truly desired? What would you want to be, do, or have? I know a lot of you are going through a transition. A lot of you are right set and you know exactly where you're going. But some of you are going through transitions. You're changing your life. What would you like to be? What would you like to do? What would you like to have in your life? And what will happen in your life if you show up as the best version of yourself every day? That's something that I learned from my father. He kept saying, Brian, just keep showing up as the best version of you every single day. And it's such a simple thing. We don't give it thought. We never think about showing up as the best version of ourselves. Usually we just live day to day to day and just kind of roll with whatever's rolling in. What if we start living from the perspective of what's the best version of me today? Now I realize that today's version might not be as good as yesterday's, and it might be better than tomorrow's. But if you get the very best of me today, boy, I tell you what, I'm going to be living a good life. And if you give the very best of you every single day, what does that look like? How will that change your life? Everybody's looking for change. They're looking for improvement. They're looking for ways to live a better life. It starts with how you show up. It really does. One of the things that Dad always said to me, he says, we have to get to a point where we don't let our outside circumstance and our current environment dictate how we think. If we want to change our outside circumstance, if we want to change our current environment, it starts in here. It starts with the way we think and how we show up in the world. And if we start to think from a better place, if we start showing up as that best version of us every single day, man, I tell you what, your environment, your circumstance will start to change. It has to. That is the law. Most people are waiting for it to change before we change the way we operate. They got it backwards. We have to change the way we operate. And that, in doing so, will change the way our environment is and the way our circumstances show up. So valuable. So now I'm going to start digging in. So the first chapter was when Corey and I were editing this and trying to lay it out. This was the first thing I wrote after Dad passed. And my God, it probably took me 3 months before I could even start writing. Um, just thinking about it brings up emotions. This was, without a doubt, the hardest chapter to write. And it was about his final days. It really was. And so if you've just gotten this book, this is where you want to start, because I know so many people have questions around what was Bob Proctor really like? How was he? How was he in his worst moments? You know, in his last couple of weeks of life, um, I will share this. He was in a lot of pain. He was not very comfortable. But the amazing thing was? He never talked about it. He said, it's not important how I'm feeling. I can't change the pain I'm in. I can't change what's going to happen. He knew he was going, and he was okay with that. He was willing to accept it. The cool thing was, I got to witness how he treated everybody when he was at his worst. That that was quite a lesson. When he was in the ICU unit of North York General in Toronto. Any of you from Toronto, that's where he was. He was in North York General. And I got the pleasure of being with him for at least 12 hours a day in the ICU. And if any of you are in the hospital business, you know that in the ICU, you're really only allowed to be there about an hour, hour and a half, I think. Visiting hours are very tight. But they knew he was going. We were quiet. We were respectful of everybody in there, and they never kicked us out. I got to stay in there with him for hours every day, and we just held hands and we chatted. And I got to witness how he treated everybody in there. And this was such a powerful lesson. The amazing thing was that during this time, it was COVID times. And so you can imagine COVID times as well. You really weren't allowed to be there if at all, and for very short periods of time. I can remember every time going in, I had to gown up, glove up, put on a mask, put on a shield. It was like I was working in some kind of a hazmat lab. But that's how it was in COVID times. But I count myself fortunate because I know a lot of people were not able to be with their loved ones during that time. But for whatever reason, I did, and it was a special thing. But here's what I witnessed. Here's what I witnessed. I'll give you a couple of quick stories that are in the book. The first is one time there was a nurse that had to put in another IV, and he had IVs coming out of him all over the place, and he was not feeling good. He was in pain, and so she was trying to get another IV in for something, and this nurse kept poking and prodding and stabbing with the needle thing, and it wasn't taking. She was not able to get into a vein, and you could see her energy level getting all. She was getting very anxious. She was getting very uncomfortable. And she finally looked at Dad and she said to him, she said, "I am so sorry, Mr. Proctor. I'm so sorry. Hopefully we'll get this taken care of shortly." And he's not good with that stuff. He was not good with needles and everything else. This is what he did. He looked at her in the eyes. He put his hand on her hand. And all he said was, "Don't worry, dear. You're doing a wonderful job. Don't worry. It'll all be fine." He made her feel at peace instantly. You know, I can remember hearing people in other rooms screaming and yelling at the nurses and the doctors. Dad was just kind to her. And in that kindness, you could see her relax so quickly. It was astounding. Bang, right away, she got into the vein and it was all done. And it was all done because of the way he treated her. He put her at ease. When he was coming home, they had to wheel him home on a gurney. Dad wanted to pass away at home. He did not want to pass away in the hospital. In the hospital, one person's in the room. He wasn't able to see everybody. He has grandchildren, great grandchildren, lots of friends. He wanted to say goodbye to people. And this was very important to him. And so he got himself checked out of the hospital. And we had to get a private ambulance to bring him home. And these two guys came walking in with their gurney, and you could tell they were very matter of fact. And this is, I guess, their business. They just wheel people from place to place. And they came walking in, and they were pretty stern and pretty firm. And this was literally probably 3 days, I think, before Dad went. And so he was really not in good shape. And this is what he did. He said, "Hold on, boys, stop for a second." And he asked them, he said, he looked at the first man, he looked him square in the eye. He said, "What's your name?" And the fellow kind of looked at him a little bit surprised. He said, "My name is Muhammad." Dad looked at him, "Muhammad, that's such a strong word. That's a powerful word. It's been around for a long time. I like that a lot." He looked at the second guy. "What's your name?" The guy says, "Tureg." Dad said, "Tureg, I've never heard that name before. I really like that." And he instantly put them at ease as well. And his kindness, we call this leaving everybody with the impression of increase. Dad was a master at this. What can you do to make everybody you come in contact with feel just even a little bit better because they've been in your presence? Dad was a master at the impression of increase. Well, he left these two ambulance attendants with the impression of increase. And because of that, I could see that they were even a little more gentle with him, moving him onto the gurney and the way they wheeled him out. And when he left that hospital, there was people, nurses and doctors and things in the hallway, all just touching him and saying goodbye to him. He touched so many lives in such a positive way when he was at his worst. Boy, there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that. How many of us treat sometimes the people closest to us the worst? when we're just in a bit of a bad way. Think about that. I learned from him that even when things are not great, it's never an excuse to treat anybody else in a bad way. Always leave them with the impression of increase. Let them know that you see them. It's a really powerful thing. That's one of the final lessons that I got from Dad. Watching him, I'd seen him do that all his life, but seeing him in that situation, it was kind of like putting an exclamation mark on the lesson. It really brought it home. One of the biggest lessons I got from him, and it's in this chapter. Um, he said this. I'm going to read from the. He said, I should continue to ask him questions as if we were having a conversation, and that to understand the answer, I would need to get in a quiet place, calm my mind, and then in this relaxed state, I would know. I would feel the answer and likely call it my intuition. He told me to allow that to guide me. In Dad's final days, one of the biggest things that he kept doing with me, he just kept saying to me, Brian, keep speaking to me. Keep speaking to me when I'm gone. Keep talking to me. Don't let me being gone be it. Keep speaking to me. And, he's been gone 3.5 years. In the initial year, I probably wouldn't have even be able to speak this easily around this subject. But I can now because I have a different relationship with him. He's still here. I still talk to him. I still listen to him. And I choose to believe that that is my intuition. And here's the interesting thing that I have learned. If we let ourselves get to a peaceful state, and this is a very powerful lesson, if we let ourselves get to a peaceful state and ask questions, I don't care who you ask your question to, ask it to God, ask it to somebody that you knew in the past, ask it to a mentor that's maybe not here any longer, but go to a peaceful state and ask questions and listen for the answer. When you hear that answer, act on it. Act on it. Dad often said that when we pray, we're speaking to God. And then he said something I really liked. He said, intuition is when God is speaking to us. That's something I learned from him. In the last 3.5 years, I can tell you this without a shadow of a doubt. I have followed my intuition to a T. This is probably the most important lesson I ever got from him. Corey often asks me, what's the secret? That I'll tell you about the title of the book in a minute. But what's the secret? There are many secrets. And the secret, without giving you a lame excuse, is different for me than it may be for you. But I will tell you this, somewhere in this book, you'll find your secret. But the big one for me was truly listening to and following my intuition. In the last 3.5 years, I've followed it to a T. And I can tell you this, it has guided me perfectly, perfectly. I'm doing things I never thought I would have done before. I am stepping out of my comfort zone in ways that I never thought I would have. This right here, right now, is a prime example of that. 3.5 years ago, would I have ever said I'd be hosting a Zoom meeting? And what do we have on here right now? 406 people. Would this have been something that I would have ever thought I would do? Absolutely not. But you know what? My intuition tells me to do these things, and I follow it. I follow it all the time. When we follow our intuition and not listen to our paradigms, those little guys on the shoulder that say, who are you to think you can do that? Or, you think, oh, what's my relative? What's my spouse? What's my wife, my husband? What are my kids? Or what is my neighbor going to say about me doing that? Don't listen to that nonsense. You follow your intuition. What is your intuition telling you to do? You will be guided perfectly because it is God speaking to us, or whatever you want to call it. Intuition is when we are truly connected subconsciously to the infinite. And we're connected that way, we will be guided perfectly. We really will. Now, it has caused me to step out and do things that were very scary. I stepped into my fear. At first, it was really uncomfortable. I have learned to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I'm going to keep on doing it. I'm going to keep stepping out. A lot of you wonder how you get unstuck. Um, You already know how to get unstuck. Here's one thing I learned from Dad many, many years ago. He says, we all know what we need to do. Question is, why don't we do it? It's usually fear that's holding us back. We're afraid of what others are going to think of us. We are afraid of what our neighbors are going to think of us. Who is he to step out and start doing something like that? Who is she to say that she could be that person? Man, when we can let those voices drown out and start following our intuition and living the way we want to live, start living each day with purpose, be that best version of you every single day, your life will get unstuck. When you step out of your comfort zone, you step through that thing that you have fear around, and you just keep doing it. At first, you may suck at it. When I was on my first podcast after the book came out, I thought that was going to kind of be it. Well, that was definitely not it. Many things have happened since this book came out. One of them was getting on podcasts. I had all kinds of people asking to interview me. I can promise you, my first few podcasts sucked. I was probably terrible, but I just kept doing it. I kept stepping into it. I kept saying yes, and I kept on doing it because I knew that would be a vehicle that would get the message out. What is it for you that's holding you back? What are you afraid of stepping out and doing? Start to step through that fear and do it. I tell you this, every time I did it, I felt energized. That fear, man, if you can push through that, the strength you gain, the energy you gain afterwards, it gets better and better and better. And before long, you're doing things that people thought you could never do. And you will inspire people to follow you. So that's really the first, man, I'm only in the first chapter and we're halfway, half an hour through. So I'm going to get through as much as I can here. But those are big, big things that I really want you to follow because this first chapter, in my opinion, is probably the most important chapter in the whole book. It really is. Maybe that in the last chapter. Everything else is just positive lessons. But stepping through fear, too many of us, they let fear be our stop sign. They let fear be the thing that stops us, that holds us back. Man, turn it into a green go light. You see fear, when you start to feel fear, know you're on the right track. And man, oh man, when you can start stepping through that nonsense, you will literally become alive. You will start to get yourself unstuck and you will start to do the things that you've always known you could do and wonder why you didn't. It's just stepping through that void. So the next chapter was all around attraction. And it's kind of a fun chapter. For a lot of you that have followed my father, I know there's some people here that maybe don't even know who Bob Proctor is. Well, I'll tell you what, Bob Proctor was a personal development speaker, thought leader, he liked to consider himself a teacher. And he studied this material and taught it for years and years and years. And I promise you, it was a grind for him. One thing I learned from him is that persistence will get you to where you want to go. Persistence. He was persistent. He started in this business long before the internet, long before the means to reach a lot of people was easy. He had to go knocking on doors. He went to insurance companies, real estate companies. He did whatever he had to do to get himself in front of people, in front of groups, and he was starting to sell seminars. Well, he would do whatever he could. And here's the lesson here that I want to share from this is that when you're out there doing your work and doing your thing, when you're out giving, this 90 minutes here, I'll tell you what this is. This is a give. This is a give. I'm not asking for anything from any of you. This is a give, this 90 minutes, because this is something I learned from Dad so long ago. When you can freely give, you will receive in the biggest of ways. And he said, you'll never know where you're going to receive it from. He says, you never give to receive. You just give to give and know that that good will come back to you. It may never come back to you from where you're giving. It may come back to you from a completely different area, but it will always come back to you. And I witnessed over his lifetime I watched Dad give and give and give all the time, never expecting anything back in return. But he always said to me, he says, Brian, if we just keep giving the best of what we've got and we help whoever is in front of us, we have to win. He says, that is one of the laws. You have to win. And the movie The Secret, many of you have heard of. Maybe you've read the book, you saw the movie. The Secret was a movie, and you can read about the whole story of it in the book. But in essence, he gave himself freely to that movie. He was asked to be in the movie. You can read the story, but he was asked to be in the movie, and he said yes. And it just so happened he was in the town it was being filmed in. Everything worked out perfectly. You want to talk about the law of attraction. Everything was set up the way it was supposed to be. He literally only had to walk across the street from a hotel he was in a city he had only been in once before in his lifetime, to film for that movie, The Secret. He did it for free, didn't ask for anything. He just freely gave. Do you know that movie came out and it became this phenom in the world back in 2006 to, I guess, 2010. It altered the course of his career. It got him on Larry King Live, Ellen DeGeneres, Nightline. He was all over the place. He was ready for the exposure. He didn't know what the vehicle was going to be. And when he was filming for that, he didn't know that was going to be the vehicle. But that vehicle altered his life. Do you know how he was 72 years old when that came out? 72. He had been working for I don't even know how many years before that came out and exploded him onto the to the bigger stage that he came onto. But that happened because he was putting out good freely, knowing that it would come back at some point in his life. And you want to talk about persistence. I know a lot of us, we're seeing social media today, and we think things got to happen for us immediately. It took him probably 40 years before that ever happened immediately for him. It took 40 years of persistence. What are you working towards? What are you in love with? What are you passionate about that would cause you to work at something for 40 years before you got the reward? Think about that for a minute. If you're passionate around something, that Dad always said that we need to find what our passion is and then dedicate our life to it. Dedicate our life to it. What is that for you? What drives you? What gets you up in the morning? Think about that. And if you can dedicate your life to that with persistence, with this inner knowing that it is going to work out, that's when you're really onto something. And that was something that I watched. Man, I watched my father in such a great way. Trace, do you want to put up a thing for the starburst? One of the questions that came in quite a bit was relationships and how to find that ideal partner. And this, I will say, worked for me really well. And I've seen it work for a lot of other people really well. But here's the deal. You don't have to use it just for relationships. I'm going to talk about it in relationships here, but you can use it for anything. The starburst sheet here is something that Dad had taught at seminars for as long as I can remember. He said you need to put on the middle of the sheet just a circle and write whatever it is that you're looking for. So in a relationship situation, your ideal partner. If you're in business, maybe you should think about what is your ideal client. Give thought to that. If it's a business you want to build, what is that ideal business? And then from that thing, he has these starbursts, all these different little arms of the qualities that you'd like. So I was in my mid 50s, and man, I didn't have a lot of luck in the love department. I had been through many relationships, married, divorced, and just wasn't working for me. And I hit a point where I was watching Dad in a seminar, and he was always talking about relationships. Well, you need to put this thing, put your ideal partner in here, and then start writing the ideal qualities. And I thought, the funniest thing is I sat here and witnessed him do this in seminars so many times, and I never actually did it for myself. I just let things happen the way they happen. So for the first time in my life, thanks, Trace, here's the starburst. So you're right in the middle, your ideal partner, or your ideal business, or your ideal client. And then from that, all the arms, you write out the qualities of what that is that you're looking for. So I thought, I'm in my mid 50s. Maybe he's onto something. Maybe I should try this. So I wrote out my ideal partner, what that would be. It can be your ideal life. I mean, it can be anything. And then what are the qualities you want? So for me, I put in my ideal partner. I started writing all the qualities of this person that I wanted. I started to put, she would be kind, she would be loving. If she had children, she treated her kids really well. Just all kinds of different little things. And then I took that starburst and I put it into a Word document and I would read it every single day. I put it on my computer and every day I'd read it. And as I read it, sometimes I'd add to it. I used descriptive words. And other things I would decide, that's not so important. I would take it out. And I read that every single day. Well, cut to the short of it, because it's all in the book. By doing that, I gained clarity. So another question that came in a lot was people needed clarity. They're looking for clarity in what they're doing, what they want. This is how you build clarity. This is how you build clarity in what you want in your life, or in the person you want to bring into your life, the business you want in your life, how you want your business to be, the kind of clients you want to have, whatever that is for you, you put that in the middle. And then you start writing the qualities of all these things. Do you know when you do that, you build clarity. You understand exactly what you're looking for. Most of us are not really clear on what we want. That's a crime. If we get really clear on what we want, really specific on what we're looking for, with that clarity, we will recognize when that thing appears. So often we can have opportunities, we can have things right in front of us that we don't even see because we're not clear. That exercise, it's probably gone here, but Trace maybe posted a couple of times. You want to take that link, print it off, and use that exercise in whatever you need clarity in. Because with that clarity, that man, that brings the world to you. We talk about the law of attraction, what you think about, bring about. Clarity, clarity will bring anything into your life. It really will. Okay, let's try and get through here a little quicker. Here's just something I just highlighted. My father often told me, don't get stuck in short-term thinking that puts you in the scarcity trap. In other words, you don't need to deny outside circumstances or pretend that they don't exist. But you also don't need to spend all your time thinking about them. You know, the law of attraction is something that's that's just a new phrase for what we think about, we become. When I was a kid, I remember driving around in a car with Dad, and this is back in the early '60s. He had a portable record player, and he loved Earl Nightingale. That was his mentor at the time. He was listening to Earl Nightingale all the time. Earl had a recording called "The Strangest Secret," and God, I think Dad was programming his mind. He was reprogramming his mind. I was like the experiment as a young boy. He was programming mine at the same time. And I got to listen to The Strangest Secret all the time. We were driving around. He would have me hold this record player and he was playing The Strangest Secret. And I hear Earl Nightingale's voice. And the strangest secret is simply this: we become what we think about. And when I read this again, in other words, you don't need to deny outside circumstances or pretend they don't exist. Some of you have things happening in your life that you don't want. You're not living the way you'd like to live. You've got things that aren't working for you. We're not saying don't deny what's currently in your life, but you also don't need to spend all your time thinking about it. We become what we think about. Think about that. This is probably one of the biggest things I got from Dad. So often we let our circumstance, we let our environment dictate our thinking. So we keep thinking, oh, this isn't working. My bank account, oh my God, I'm broke. Or I hate this job. And that's all you're thinking about. You keep bringing more of the same. You become what you think about. What you give thought to, you bring more of into your life. He's not saying don't deny what's happening around you, but don't let that be your energy taker. Don't let that be the driver of your energy. Start to think about what you would like, not wishing. Too many people wish for something. They wish for that good they want, but they think about what's not working. If you're thinking about what's not working, you're going to bring more of that into your life. And that is a simple thing. That's the whole key to this whole law of attraction, this power of attraction, all of these things. What do you think about? Not what you wish about. What do you think about all the time? And catch yourself. Go back to this moment if you need to, this exact moment in time. And when you're thinking about what you don't want, be aware, recognize what you're doing and change it. Change it. Dad always had a thing. He would do it in a seminar and he would just say, snaps, change it, change it, change it. He would click his hands and force himself to look at it from another point of view. When things aren't working and you're going down that pity party, that pity me trap, start to think, what do I want? And he would say, switch, switch. What do I want? And then instantly, with that awareness, start to think about what you do want in your life and start to feel it and live it. One of the big things that came up from a lot of people was that their beliefs were dwindling. Their focus on what they wanted was dwindling. They started to lose the power in their belief and what they were going after, their goal. They started to lose the faith that they could do it. I learned this from Dad so long ago that we need to, Neville Goddard was one of the people that he studied. We need to live from that place. We need to feel as if we're already there. If you're losing that belief, take a step back and close your eyes and let your imagination fly for being in that place. You know, Corey and I are going after a goal right now, or at least I definitely am. I know Corey's in line with my goals. She's got her goals too. But one of the goals that I'm going for, I've been going after now for at least a year and a half, maybe a little bit longer. There is no indication, none, that it is going to happen yet. None. None. I could let that be the thing that sinks me, but it doesn't. Every day, I use my imagination and I feel what it would feel like as if it has already happened. Already happened. So I have this inner knowing. I am programming my mind. We're always programming our mind with our self-talk. I am programming my mind to know that this will come to be. I am going to get there. And I never let what's showing itself dictate what's going on up here. I'm always using my imagination, and I know that we are going to reach that goal. It might not have happened within the timeline that I thought it would, but I know it is going to happen. And with that inner knowing, it brings you peace. And with that inner knowing, it'll cause you to do things in a day that you might not have normally done. That's the power. That's the power. In the book, 12 Easy Steps that I wrote after this one, the big thing I say is, what can you do every single day? What one little thing can you do to get yourself one step closer to your goal? This is something I learned from Dad. Every day he would ask me, Brian, what are you doing today to get closer to your goal? What little thing have you done today to get you just one step closer? That was it. It was never about the big stuff, never about the big thing. Too many people are waiting for that big thing to happen before their life changes. And if you're that person, man, put that out of your head. Start to think, okay, what one little thing can I do today? And that's what Dad did with me. He was always, what are you doing today, Brian, to get you one step closer to that goal? What one little thing? And as you take that little step each and every day with persistence, in no time at all, you are going to get there. I said, if you did one little thing every day, just one little thing, it can seem really insignificant. But boy, if you did one little thing every day, in a year's time, you've done 365 little things. I promise you, that's going to add up to something really big. It really will. That's when the big things happen. It happens with the little things. Okay, I'm only in chapter 2 finished here. So we're just going to get through a little bit of this book today. Gratitude, chapter 3. That's something I learned from Dad. I'm not going to cover this one in a big way. I'm going to simply say this. I have a gratitude journal that I write in. I'm always focused on the good. And I'll tell you why. This was, again, something that Dad was fixated on. This is something he did every single morning. And I figure if it was worth him doing at his age every single morning, it's something I could do. And I would start to write out what I was grateful for. Well, Tommy, our host here, he said he gave me this gratitude journal, and on the back of it is a quote from Wallace D. Wattles. He's the author of The Science of Getting Rich. This quote really says it all. It says the grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. What are you grateful for? Do you give thought to what you're grateful for? You know, when you write out every morning what you're grateful for, really the good that's in your life, even when things are crap, if you can look for what's good, you bring more of that into your life. You know, make gratitude a part of who you are. It's the foundation to all of our success. You know, we have a program that we run called Proctor's Principles. And I know we've got several of you here, which is wonderful. The very first lesson in our program is all around gratitude. You know, when you can be grateful for what is good around you, you will attract more good into your life. Most people are fixated on what's not working, on what's not good. Oh, can you believe this person's doing that? And they get focused on that. And they just bring more of that nonsense into their life. If we can start fixating on what is good in our life, look for the good that's around us. Dad did this all the time. God, there was a time, his very last seminar, for lack of better words, his last event he did, it was an online event. And it's in the book. I always say, he always said from the stage, a pro is at their best regardless. You know, my father was that. He was at his best regardless. He went and did this final event 2 months before he passed away. He could barely walk. He was actually in a wheelchair. He could barely walk. Yet he got in front of the cameras and put on this event for clients. You would have never known that he was struggling. He always said a pro is at their best regardless. He gave his best to everybody, regardless of how he was feeling. That was a great lesson. But here's what I want to say at the end of this. After he was done that, we came back into the house. My son and I, we helped walk him back into the house, and he laid down in the couch in the family room, and he just laid there and rested. And he eventually fell asleep. He just needed time to kind of relax. But even in that moment, he was beat. He was tired. I'm sitting there beside him in the chair, and he's laying on the couch, and he's just looking up. And this is what he said to me. He says, Brian, look at this. And he's looking around the house. He says, isn't this wonderful? He's looking at the ceiling. Now, it's kind of a nice ceiling. It's a unique ceiling. But he said, look at this ceiling. Isn't it beautiful? He lived from a place of gratitude. He wasn't focused on what wasn't working. He wasn't focused on his pain at that time. He wasn't focused that he could barely walk. He was focused on the good that was around him. There's a lesson in that, in a big way, in a big way. Some of you are struggling. I know some of you are. I could tell by some of the answers that came in. If you're struggling, take chapter 3 and start digging into gratitude. Start to focus on what is good in your life. Start giving that energy. That will push the struggle bus away. You might not believe it right now, but boy, oh boy, you start doing that, I promise you it will. Start to focus on what is good in your life. I got to witness so many things from him. You know, this whole book and what I wrote and the lessons that I wrote, it's not necessarily what Bob Proctor said. It was in how he lived. It was in how he lived. And boy, if we can all live in that way, that's how we better our lives. You know, he never thought he knew it all. He never did. He studied right up till probably 2 days before he passed. He studied every single day. He never believed he knew it all. I've had many people ask, what was he studying when he died? And I've got it written here. In his book holder, I've got a book holder with my two books in the back, but we have one here on any book you're studying. He had a book in his book holder that he was studying, and I've had many people ask me what it is. I know I've got the book written in here, but I didn't put the actual pages that was on there. He was reading Thomas Troward. The book was called Your Hidden Power. And what he had it open to was two pages, and he was studying those pages for I don't know how long. The pages, it was from chapter 9. It was the first two pages of chapter 9 called Touching Lightly. That's what he was studying, literally days before he passed away. He never thought he knew it all. Never. He was always studying. The book is Your Hidden Power. I keep getting the word, Your Hidden Power by Thomas Troward. He always studied. Even when he wasn't able to teach it to anybody else any longer, he was still studying. There's something in that too. These are the little tidbits. Now, we're getting to the top of the hour. I'm going to get into another chapter here that I think is really important based on some of the feedback I got, and that is forgiveness. So this chapter on forgiveness, man, this one holds some power. I can remember where I was sitting. Corey and I lived in Florida at the time. I was sitting at my desk, looking out over the water, and I picked up the phone and I called Dad. He was alive when I wrote this one, and I started talking to him about forgiveness. You know, he had many people in his lifetime take advantage of him and do things that were not good. And you know, he never harbored resentment. Um, he was done with that person. He would never deal with them again, but he never harbored the resentment. And so I started to talk to him about forgiveness. I thought, man, this is a powerful thing. I had gone through a thing in my life where I needed to forgive. I needed to release somebody that had caused me harm, somebody that really had hurt me. And so I'm going to read a little something here from this one. This one's worth reading. I just hung up the phone following a heartfelt discussion with my father. It was as I was writing this chapter, I called him because I had a question about his thoughts on forgiveness. You see, I have witnessed him reclaim his inner peace following a betrayal or hurt many times throughout my life. Over the years, I heard Dad share stories about people who had taken advantage of him, but he never seemed to harbor any negative thoughts about the other person. He explained to me that he is so practiced at guarding his mind against the thoughts that don't serve him that he doesn't give his betrayers any thought at all. He doesn't let them enter his mind. And if they do, he immediately replaces that thought with something else, or he picks up one of his dogs to change his focus. He will never do business with or engage with them again. However, he will not allow the experience or person to cast a cloud on his life. Instead, he literally releases the person to their highest good and him to his. And then he said something that I've heard him say many times when teaching. He said, holding a negative thought of someone in your mind only damages you. I think we can all relate to that. Forgiveness is for you, not the other person. Most people think that if John hurts me and I forgive him, I do it for John's benefit. That's not the case. I'm not. It is for my benefit. I am the one releasing what is bothering me. By taking responsibility for my peace of mind, I choose how to respond to it. How many of you are harboring resentment for somebody that's harmed you? There you go. Tootie, I see your hand up. Let it go. Let it go. You are the only person you're harming. I realize that a number of you here have probably had people done things to you that is absolutely monstrous. Hanging on to those thoughts only hurts you from this point forward. Dad was a master at letting go of the past, not letting that dictate who he was. We don't need to let our past dictate how we move forward. We just don't. You know, after we talked about this, I looked up the definition of forgiveness and I put it in here. It says psychologists generally define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance toward a person or group who has harmed you, regardless of whether you deserve or whether they deserve your forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting, nor does it mean condoning or excusing offenses. It is simply letting it go so that you can step into your light and be that best version of you. You know, I watched him do this. I saw people that really took advantage of him, and he never let it throw him off. He let it go. You know, Corey, I don't know if you want to jump in with this let exercise. It doesn't really relate fully to this, but I think it's got some power. Um, Corey, I want to. Okay, there we go. We're going to bring Corey on here. Share your little story around this affirmation because I think it's got a lot of power.
Which page are you on? Oh, wait, I think I marked it here.
Hi, Corey.
Hi, Tommy.
Welcome.
Thank you. 258, 259 there. So this is really about affirmations more than anything. Because if you don't, so affirmations are a tool, and they're just one tool that helps you control your focus. Because if you don't actively control your focus, your environment will. So that's why this affirmation became so important to me. So Bob saw in me some tendencies of my need to control, my need to control my environment. Of course, that was a false perception, but I wasn't seeing it at the time. And I had perfectionist tendencies. I was letting perfect be the enemy of good. You know, I wasn't getting things done because they weren't perfect. So he created this affirmation for me, and he kind of just created it off the cuff, but it became my mantra. I wrote it out everywhere. I pulled the word let out and wrote the word let on my car window with a dry erase marker. I wrote it on my kitchen window. I wrote it on my bathroom mirror, let, let, let. And what it did is it forced me to pause. And there's a lot of power in the pause. That's when you can decide to be a responder instead of a reactor. So I would get stuck in I'm going to read this from Brian's book. Corey has perfectionist tendencies. She can get stuck in details and have difficulty moving forward. This affirmation helped her so much that she pulled the word let out of it and wrote it everywhere with a dry erase marker. So I tended to argue with Bob, and I think he just got frustrated with me, and he just gave me this affirmation and said, I want you to just begin using this affirmation all day, all night. Say it over and over and over and over. And to this day, I still use it. I am so happy and grateful now that I let everything in my life flow free and easy, and I focus only on what serves me toward my greater good. You see, I was really good at defending my limitations. I was really, really good at that. And I would do it with Bob. So I would actually defend my limitations out loud. So this affirmation really got me to pay attention to my patterns. It got me to interrupt the negative loops that would send me in directions that were not helping me move forward. So it became super powerful. Bob would have me come on stage at events to repeat it for people. And then he had our graphic designer create this beautiful graphic, and we would laminate it and hand it out to people at events. And I still get messages from people talking about how much this affirmation has really changed the way they move through life. And I know that it did that for me. And it still does. I still use it. It still creates that pause for me to help me choose my thinking, because we have thoughts all day long. You can't control your thoughts. What you control is your thinking. You control which thoughts you're going to attach to and which thoughts you're going to move off to the side and give less energy to. But you can't beat yourself up for having thoughts. But you can use your higher mental faculty of reason. You can use your deductive reasoning factor, and you can choose your thinking. You can choose which thoughts to attach to with emotion. And emotion is the fuel that helps us move forward. So I hope that you will use this, adopt this affirmation and use it in your life. It has created a lot of change for me, and I know it can for you too.
Thanks, honey. I knew there would be some value in that. So I'm going to cover two quick things. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I want to get into some of the questions because I know that you all have questions, and I like to deal with that. As I say, this is just all about giving. I have not been able to give nearly as much as I wanted to, but we only have so much time. I just want to thank you all for being here. I was just, as Corey was talking, I was scrolling through, and I want to say hello, Roger Boger. It is really good to see you. Um, Roger is somebody that was a very good friend of my father, and I don't even know how long ago I met you, Roger, but it was a long time ago. So it's great to see you here. So there's two things that I want to cover. Two important pieces based on the feedback that I got from everybody when we sent out the email. And one is willpower, motivation, and kind of decision making. Um, you know, none of us are perfect. My father would be the first one to tell you he wasn't perfect, but he just kept trying. He kept being the best version of him every day. And I try to be that best version of me every day. That's how we gain perfection. That's how we get closer to it, by being that best version. Well, Corey and I, this house that we are in, this was a decision. And I remember very clearly this conversation with Dad when we were looking at maybe doing this house. We were living in Florida at the time. Uh, I won't get into the story. I think it's probably in the book. Corey was living in Alaska. I was living in Florida. We couldn't have been any further apart. And I loved Alaska, but I did not love the weather. It was not a place I could live. I loved being there. The hiking there was spectacular. It was probably one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. But you got to like the cold. On even in the summertime, you got to like the cold. It's just not great weather. So that's not where I wanted to be. Florida is kind of flat, and it can be pretty darn hot. John, I see you, John Walton. I live not far from John Walton. Well, Corey wasn't big on Florida. It was too hot for her. And so we had to find some kind of happy middle ground as we were building this new life together, the two of us. And we settled on the Pacific Northwest. I love the Pacific Northwest. 20 years ago, I tried to move here. Another story. But eventually we're here now. So we found this beautiful place, or this lot, I guess really. It was an old home. It was an old cottage. It was over 100 years old, on the south end of Puget Sound, just about an hour south of Seattle, right on the water. Just a magnificent piece of property with a view that is just astounding. And we bought the house and we thought we would maybe renovate it and do something that way. And I can remember having this conversation with Dad, and I started talking to him about what we were going to do. And he was in Florida visiting us at that time. And he had rented a house not far away. So we got together all the time. And I can clearly remember having lunch with him in this restaurant on Anna Maria Island. And we were chatting, and I was telling him, I said, well, really, I would love to tear the whole thing down and build a whole new house. And I said, I kind of explored it. I said, it's really expensive. And I started getting into all the ways that I could potentially earn some extra money to do it. I didn't want to get a mortgage and all that kind of stuff. I didn't want to finance ourselves up to here. I wanted to really do this and do it right. And I was working through a plan with him on all these different things that I could do to earn an income. And many of you are working through how to get to where you want to go. You're trying to think of the steps you need to take, the how. And that's what I was doing. I think I wrote in here, well, I don't know where I am now, but I was 57 years old at the time. I'm almost 64 now. I was 57 years old. I'd been listening to my father all my life, yet I still needed this message. He looked at me. I think I wrote it here. Here he is. Brian, do you really want this? You will find a way to make this happen if your want is strong enough. You do not need to figure it all out right here, right now. If this idea scares you, then you are likely on the right track. God, I remember him saying that to me. He said, so many of us, we get tangled up in the how we're going to do it. So we don't make the decision or wait until that something shows itself. That is the biggest mistake. So many of you want something bigger, yet you're waiting for something else to show. This is what is required. Make the decision. Make the decision. God, Brian Moses, I just saw something here. You're on here. Great to see you. Make a decision. You know, in that moment, sitting at lunch with him, I made a decision that we were going to tear this house down and build what we have now. That was a big decision. It required a lot of money, and I didn't have a clue how I was going to pull it off. Here's the interesting thing. I figured it out along the way because I made the decision. What are you sitting on? What decision are you holding off on, waiting for everything to be just right before you do it? You know, it'll never be just right. That's the one thing I have learned. It'll never be just right. Here's the key. Here's the big thing that I learned from Dad is to make a decision and then get on with the work. Do what you can do each and every day. So I made a decision right then and there. We're going to do it. Reached out to the builder. We got everything all set up and we made the decision. And I'm here to tell you, I was terrified. Terrified. Making a big decision will terrify you. Don't let that stop you. We talked in the beginning about fear. Don't let the fear be your stop sign. Let that fear tell you that you are on the right track to something even bigger. Here's the cool thing. We're living in that house now. We built it exactly the way we wanted it. Everything we did in this house, we didn't look at what it was going to cost. We did what we wanted and we figured it out along the way. I learned that from Dad. And man, I thank him every day. We are living in a home that we truly love. We love, every time we travel, we go to some really nice places. Corey and I come home, first thing we look at each other, man, we live in the best place. We love where we live. And we're here because we made a decision and then stepped out and did what was required. What is that decision for you? What are you sitting on, waiting for the situation to be right? Don't wait any longer. Make the decision and then step into it. You will find the way. And what you learn along the way, man, that's the gold. So the final thing I'm going to say here, and there's a whole lot of other stuff, but we'll get into some questions here, at least for 20 minutes. There's a chapter on page 150, and this is, I always say I like to try to teach about a way of living, because I think that's the important thing. I think if we live in a certain way, everything works out. We will attain all the things we want in life. And chapter 150 is living a certain way. It's called rose-colored glasses. I'm going to read this to you. I tend to look at life and the world through rose-colored glasses. I learned that from Dad. Because I view life this way, I am often accused of not being a realist. To my detractors, I say I live a much happier, healthier, and more productive life because of this conscious choice. There are always at least two ways to look at something. If you try to see the value in everything, my experience has been that you will attract good into your life because of that choice. On the other hand, I have been with people who only see the negative in every situation, or constantly looking for what's wrong and are always ready to tell you about it. We all know people like that. These folks, they're never pleased and never seem to attract precisely what they are focused on and negative. But of course, when you are in that vibration, negative is all you'll see. So of course, that is what you'll attract. You know, when I wrote this, there was a specific person I was thinking about. I see this person fairly frequently, they're always focused on what's not working, what's not right. And you know what? Man, they keep attracting more of what's not working and what's not right because that's all they see. Ugh, it's a miserable way to live. Miserable. Start to live life with rose-colored glasses. You know, we were in Vancouver last week and we got to meet a couple of clients, Ricky Kotecha and Mariko. God, we got to meet both of them and spend some great time with them. Well, Ricky, while we were there, pulled out his rose-colored glasses. He's in Proctor's Principles, and this was one of the things we were studying. Well, he went out and bought these rose-colored glasses, and he still wears them to this day. And it just, man, it just makes me smile. Do you know, if we can choose to look at life through rose-colored glasses, even when things aren't working out quite the way we want, we still look for the good in it. That's something I learned from Dad. Always look for the good. There's always good in something. If we can do that, we will attract more good into our life. Not denying that bad things don't happen. I've often said none of us are immune from adversity. Bad things will happen. I've had lots of bad things happen to me. I don't let those bad things dictate my life. There you go, Tommy. And I do not let those bad things dictate the way I look at life. I look for the good. Look at life through rose-colored glasses. When you can do that, you will attract more good into your life. And when you do have bad things happen to you, they won't cut as deep. They won't last as long because you're looking for the good that's around you. That is a way of being. That's a way of living. That is a way I saw my father live all the time. You know, whenever something happened that wasn't great, I can remember so many times sitting in his backyard and he would just say, it is what it is. And then he would focus on what was good. Man, what a great way to live. What a great way to live. I got a couple of friends who say to me, yeah, I hear you, Brian. You always say it is what it is. I do the same thing. You know, I feel like I'm a living example of my father because I was fortunate. He programmed me. You know, he was given Think and Grow Rich in October of 1961. I was born in December of 1961. I was there for the entire journey. So while he was reprogramming his mind, he was programming mine. And I am grateful for that. This book is a result of growing up with Bob Proctor. I said I'd share one story, how I came up with the title, and then we'll go to the questions. I didn't know what the title of the book was going to be when Dad passed. God, I wished he knew what the title. He knows what the title is. Every time we talked about it before he passed, I had a few different ideas and stuff, and he'd say, Brian, relax, don't worry about it, don't rush it. It'll come to you when it comes, and when it comes, you'll know. It was after he was gone, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was having a vivid, vivid dream of my father. And I woke up and this title was in my head. My father knew the secret, growing up with Bob Proctor. I thought, wow. I actually got up and wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. It came to me that way. And I knew that was divine inspiration right there. It really was. And Corey and I were talking about earlier, what a perfect title for a book, especially in this situation. You know, it was because of the movie The Secret that those of you that know Bob Proctor, that's probably a big reason why you know him. It was because of that one thing. He did know the secret. He knew a way to live. He knew how to look at life, how to look for the good. Even when bad was happening, he would look for the good. Choose to live that way. Choose to live life from a place of gratitude. Choose to be the best version of you every single day. And here's a big one. Don't settle. Do not settle. Dad always told me, Brian, don't settle. Don't settle. Go after what you want. That's inspiration. That's what makes life worth living. That's what brings joy in the world. Do not settle. Go after what you want. Look at life through rose-colored glasses. Be that best version of you and make it magical. And the final piece that I'm going to tell you is leave everybody, and I mean everybody, even the people you don't necessarily like, leave them with the impression of increase. Leave everybody that you come in contact with feeling just a little bit better because they were in your presence. Man, you do that, whew, that's when magic happens. It really does. So, Tommy, I'm going to throw this back to you. I went way
Awesome.
longer than I thought. I covered probably a fifth of what I wanted to cover. But let's open it up to some questions. Let's have a little dialogue, and then we'll close this out and just go on with a great day.
Let's do it. Well, Brian, this has been awesome. What a magical hour. And FYI, for those of you who don't know here, this is just like what our Tuesdays are like in Proctor's Principles. So anyway, quick, easy question to start us out with from Michelle. Will there be a replay after this? Yes, there will. We will send it out as soon as we're done. So that's easy. And this first question here, I'll go to our next question from Eric. He says, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for doing this. How do I bring my imagination into reality? As it comes in, how do we know if it is spirit guiding us? What feelings come up when that happens? Thank you so much. I may have more questions. LOL. Sorry.
Well, there's a little bit of a double thing in that question. That sounds like intuition as well. It's interesting. I've heard from many people that struggle with using their imagination, picturing living from the place they want to be. They can't build the pictures in their mind. And Corey had a great way to look at that I never thought of before, is we've all had successes in our life. We've all had good things happen to us in our life. Sometimes you have to maybe go back to a past memory of something really good. You can use that as part of your imagination. Use that for it. But living from that place, letting our imagination be, and knowing that we're on the right path and just doing what's required is simply listening to that. It's going to a quiet place and listening, and realize that our limiting beliefs will show themselves when we start to do that. Those are what my father liked to call paradigms, our habitual way of looking at things. Our paradigms are those crazy people that stand on our shoulders, that whisper in our ear, said, Brian, who are you to think you can do that? Brian, why are you doing that now? You don't have to work that hard. Brian, Brian, Brian. They're all that. Eric, 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 Michelle, Michelle, Loy, Tootie, all of you, you all have these little voices on your shoulders. Here's the deal. Intuition is that first hit, and it might be a fraction of a second, that first thing that tells you what you can do, what you should do. How often have we done something when we felt we shouldn't be doing it? But my God, this guy is making this sound so good. This is such a good deal. Man, I got to do this. And so you do it. And you knew you shouldn't, but you did it because it just sounded too good to be true. And so you did. And then you came back to regret it because you didn't listen to your intuition. How many other times have you had something present itself and think, oh man, that would be so great. But you didn't do it because, oh, I could never see myself doing that. Because, oh, I'm afraid of what my spouse is going to say, or I'm afraid of what my kids would say, or my neighbor, or my best friend. And so you don't do it. And then, a year goes by and you think, oh man, I wished I had done that. If I had done that, wow, where would I have been? If we start to listen to our intuition and kick these things off of our shoulders, those voices, those limiting beliefs, just with awareness, kick them off our shoulder, life will get better. It really will.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. And I'm looking at the number of questions that we have in here, and there's no way we're going to get to all of them in 90 minutes. Maybe we'll go over just a little bit, but we've decided we have a free masterclass coming up in a couple of weeks, and we're going to take the questions that we don't get to and put them in the curriculum to talk about in our next masterclass. So I just want to throw this up really quick before we answer a couple more questions. So this is going to be a new format for us. It's going to be a 4-hour masterclass on September 23rd at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time. We'd love to see you there. It is free. And Trace will be dropping the link in the chat. So yeah, everything we don't get to today, we will address during the masterclass, okay? And so next question here is from Marcus. He says, I have a question. I'm working at a firm in the car business that my family has owned before. I haven't ever really liked the job as a salesman. I have studied sales and marketing and never found what I like to do. What can I do to find what I love? Of course, it's trial and error, but how do I find the direction?
That's a great question, Marcus. So, one of the things I loved when I was younger was a seminar that my father did called the Goal Achiever. And I used to love that seminar. It always got me kind of honed in with where I wanted to go. Um, and I can relate to you, Marcus. When I left real estate and went back into the business with my father, I was selling seminars. And I started selling seminars and I was out doing things. I hated it, didn't like it. Um, and I remember going to dad and saying, you know what, this isn't working for me, dad. I am not enjoying selling seminars. So Marcus, I hear you loud and clear. Um, he looked at me and he said, well, then find another way to serve, find another way that you can help. I thought, wow, what a great response. He allowed me to look for a different way. Well, you've got to look for your different way, whatever way that you can support. So I built a different part of the company that turned into something huge I would have never thought of. It was the whole email part. This was before email marketing was ever a thing. And I figured it out and started to build that out. And that enabled us to reach a lot more people. So what you need to do, Marcus, is sit back in a quiet place with a piece of paper, and any of you, if you're not fixed on a goal, something that drives you, do this. Take some time and write down on a piece of paper all the things you could have. Tommy had this great exercise. Where is it?
I've got it.
It's on your.
Oh, here it is. Corey's been cleaning up my desk. This is so that you can just take and just start writing out all the different things you want. Well, we were doing a retreat in the Dominican Republic and with some clients. And Tommy, man, I got to give this to you, Tommy. This was one of the best things I had heard of in a long time. We were sitting at dinner with everybody, and Tommy gave out this money clip with $5 million in it. Now, Tommy, the next time I want it to be real money.
Okay.
But anyways, he gave out this money clip with $5 million. And then he said to everybody at the table, and I want you to think about this. Picture this for yourself, because this is how you find out what that is for you. He said, your needs are met. Everything's taken control of. Your needs are met. But you have to spend this money now. What would you spend it on? What would you spend that $5 million on? If all your needs are met, what would you spend it on? That'll help you get closer into what is it I really want in my life. It may seem outrageous. It might be outrageous, but that's okay. Sometimes outrageous is a good thing. Sometimes outrageous is the thing that'll cause you to step into your power. That's kind of a cool thing. Well, then we're out for dinner the next night. We had another $5 million. We've already spent our $5 million last night. Now what are we going to do with it? Boy, that opens you up to a whole nother thing. Anyways, Marcus, that's the answer to the question. Pretend you got $5 million and all your needs are met. What would you want in your life? What would you do with that money if you had to do something with it? That's when you will find your passion. That's when you will find what will cause you to step out of your comfort zone. Don't just think about it. Actually do it. And then step into it. Dad was, I mean, there's so many things I learned from him. He was a master action taker. I mean, a master action taker. When he made a decision, he was going to go after something, he just stepped out and took action. I have learned that. I just step out and take action. I like to call it sometimes imperfect action. Sometimes you'll fumble, you'll stumble, you'll trip. Absolutely. But sometimes imperfect action will lead you to where you want to go. It's way better than no action at all. Action will get you there.
Absolutely. Okay. Next question here from Sherry. Well, she says, a woman named Elizabeth Lang put this in the chat. How can you work these principles when you are grieving? I don't know if she put it in the if she put it in the question box herself. So I'm adding it here because I'm grieving also. So how do you keep living this way when you're grieving, Brian?
That's a great question. And yes, I was through it when Dad passed. You know, I remember. Here's an interesting thing, and this is just my take on everything. But I was with Dad when he passed away. I was holding his hand the moment he left. Just whew, thinking about it brings it up. I don't think we ever stop grieving. So don't let the fact that you're grieving, that's not a bad thing. That's just your heart saying that somebody you really loved is gone. It's not a bad thing. Grief can be positive. But here's the interesting thing is when he passed, man, I could feel he was not there anymore. It was just his body. And I have chosen to, whether this is right or not, who cares? This is what I choose. I choose to believe my father is still here. So whoever you're grieving, choose to believe they're still here. You can still speak with them. I talk to my father all the time. Before this call, I go to a quiet place and I sat and I talked to Dad. And I said, feel free to work through me however you want. Speak to me however you want. Let me serve as the best I can. You know, Spirit is equally present in all places at all times. It's everywhere. And when somebody's gone, they're just gone physically. They're still here. And I choose to believe my father's still here and I still speak to him. Our relationship has changed. Yeah, I can't pick up a phone and call him. I can't give him a hug, but I can still talk to him. I still have a relationship with him. That's how you get through the grieving process. I still grieve, but grieving, don't look at it as a negative thing. I remember I had people look at me like, oh, you're still grieving him. You should, wait until you're not. Well, that's their paradigm. I don't have to let that affect me. Grieving is not a terrible thing. It just means that somebody's gone that you truly loved. And let them still be in your life. Let them still be in your life. That's what will get you through it.
Thank you, Brian. Really good. Okay, let's do one more question and then we will wrap it up. But like I said, we will bank your questions and address them in our upcoming masterclass. And I see a lot of questions about that. Yes, of course, the masterclass will be recorded. So if you're working or can't be there, no problem. Just register to be on the replay reception list. Okay. Daniel says, what is your advice when you have been doing the work with our beloved Bob's programs? Got some great new results and changed my life, but for the moment I feel stuck and I fight old paradigms that seems to hit back. Feeling tired at the moment and not sure what the next step is.
A great question. So if you're feeling stuck and tired, step away for a minute. Step away for a little bit. Um, Go for a walk in the woods. Take a couple of days break. Do something to do something that brings you joy. One of the chapters in my next book, 12 Easy Steps, is do things that bring you joy. When you're feeling stuck, get out and do something that brings you joy. Do something that makes you feel good. For me, it's getting out on the water. I love getting out on the water. Do something that brings you joy. And then get back in touch with why are you doing it? Get back in touch with your passion. When we get stuck, it's because we've lost the passion for what we're doing. Make a decision that you're still going to do it. You're still going after it. Find a way to get passionate about it again. I can't answer what that is for you, but maybe this exercise will help you find that new passion again. That's $5 million. It's such a great exercise. Find your passion again, and then just step out and do what you can right now. Most of the time when we get stuck or we get into overwhelm, if you've ever watched my father, you've seen this. If we get stuck or into overwhelm, it's because we're not living in the present moment. We're fixated in the future, all the things we got to do. Oh, this isn't showing up yet. It's not here. Oh my God, how am I ever going to get there? They're not living in the moment. How you get unstuck is you start getting back into the moment, into right now. Don't worry about what you got to do tomorrow, next week. Don't worry about this great big project. How are you going to accomplish it all? Go back to this right now. And as I said in the beginning of the call, and I said throughout the call, what can you do to be the best version of you today, right here, right now? If that's what you start to focus on, you'll get out of your stuckness pretty quickly. When we start being that best version of us and step into what we can do right now, things happen. Things start to shift. Things start to change. The key is action in the now. Get out of your head. Quit worrying about what didn't work yesterday or what you didn't do yesterday because you were putting off till tomorrow. When you put something off till tomorrow, typically the next day will arrive, you'll put it off till the next day. You're worried about the future, the past, all that. When we can get into the present moment, what can I do right now? That's when things open back up again. That's when you get unstuck. And that's when the magic starts to work again for you.
Beautiful. Okay, friends. Well, this hour and a half went by fast. We're grateful that you came and joined us for today. We would love to have you join us for our next virtual masterclass. If you loved this today and want some more Brian and Corey energy, join us for this free half-day masterclass September 23rd, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK. And this is going to be all about sharing 60 years of love, connection, business, and transformation distilled into one 4-hour virtual masterclass so that you can create a life you love amidst the chaos and overwhelm of today. Anything you want to say to wrap us up, Brian?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. I will look at some of the comments afterwards. I can't follow the comments as I'm talking, but I will look at your comments afterwards. Quite frankly, they fuel me, so I really appreciate that. But I want to leave you with this. Be that best version of you today. Go after what you want. Don't settle. Do not settle. You know, Dad always said to me, Brian, don't settle. Don't settle. Go after your dreams. God, what happens in our life if we go after our dreams? We might not hit it, but I'll tell you what, we'll be a lot further ahead than if we didn't go for it. And life gets better. Just step out and bet on yourself. I hope you enjoyed today. I didn't cover half of what I wanted to cover, but I hope that you will actually practice or use some of the things that I've shared. Because I tell you this, everything I have shared, I learned from my father in very intimate ways. And you want to know that what he wanted me to learn, you knew that would be important because we all know you want the best for your kids. And I know Dad wanted the very best for me. So he shared the very best with me. And what I've been trying to share with you is what he shared with me. So if you can take some of those principles, you don't have to take them all, just take some of them and start living them. Life gets great. And if it's great, ooh, he'd like to say it can always be better, and it will be better. So just keep stepping into your power. Bet on yourself, and man, watch what happens. So thank you for being here. I truly appreciate every single one of you.
Thank you, Brian. I think Corey had something she wanted to add.
Well, I also want to thank everybody for coming here today and sharing two of your greatest resources with us for this 90 minutes, your time and attention. It truly means the world to us. It's so great to see so many people from all over the world. And then, of course, our Proctor's Principles group, who is just our best cheerleaders ever. Thank you, gang. Because I spoke just briefly on affirmations, I want to leave you with another tool and a thought as you go into your day or your night, wherever you are in the world. Another powerful tool for your toolbox is reframing. Reframing can help you change your perspective. And when you change your perspective, you have the power to change your life. So instead of asking how do I do this? How do I do this? Start saying, why not? Why not? Why can't I do this? Of course I can. Start having faith in yourself. And when you leave today, ask yourself this question: what is the best thing that could happen to me? Reframe that self-talk to the question, what is the best thing that could happen to me? And answer it. Start writing things down. There's a lot of power in putting pen to paper. It creates connection.
Say your thing, Corey.
That's my thing.
Do the no, her thing is do the work.
Oh, do the work. Oh, yes. Do the work. Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, friends. Thanks for being here. We hope to see you in a couple of weeks. We're going to play a song or two so we can gather all of your questions to address during the masterclass, and we'll hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.